It's time for Nationals, and the Big Mountain's here to break it down for you.
It may be March Madness, but for wrestling fans, this is our favorite time of the year. So we're back on the Big Mountain to break it down for you.
Hey, welcome to the Mountain. I am JY, and this is my good friend Steve. And Steve, for wrestling fans, this is the most important weekend of the entire year. National Championship weekend, starting Thursday morning. I know we've been talking about doing an episode on wrestling. We're finally able to get to one here. We're going to do Nationals. I'm going to let you drive this for the most part here. You want to get us started at 125, or what are your overall thoughts as we get into the Nationals?
It's Nationals, baby. This is our favorite time of year.
Yeah.
You and I were at States here in Pennsylvania. We watched the Big Ten championships.
Yep.
Now it's time for Nationals. So let's break right into it. 125.
Yep.
As a disclaimer, I'm a Big Ten guy. I'm a Penn State fan. Okay, so Cale Sanderson, Penn State have won 10 of the last 12. So I totally get it if people think I'm a little homer, a little biased. But I mean, when you've won 10 out of 12, I think you could be a little biased.
It would be hard not to be.
It'd be hard not to be. Yes. Okay. So. That being said, let's go right into 125. This was a kind of a crazy weight at Big Tens. Mm-hmm. It's really set the bracket up to be interesting for Nationals. So for me, I have kind of chalk going through the quarters here. I have Braden Davis, Big Ten champion, getting through to the quarters, where he's going to face McKee from Purdue, or from Minnesota. Sorry, real good wrestler. They've battled it out before. I think I see Davis getting past there. The other in that side of the bracket, the other quarterfinals match that I think could be really interesting, Ramos from Purdue, great wrestler, versus Volk from Wyoming. So I wanted to point that out, a Wyoming wrestler. I think that'll be a great matchup. I just see Ramos getting past him and being the semifinal opponent for Davis, which will be another great rematch. Down in the in the bottom half of the bracket, I got Ayala out of Iowa, fantastic wrestler, really good at this weight class. And just going from chalk, it looks like he probably is set up to face Stanich from Lehigh. But I have the final as being Davis and Ayala. Okay. Battle, Clash of the Titans, Penn State and Iowa. Two really awesome young wrestlers at 125. Davis has been up and down this year. He started out on fire, just, worked his way up to number one from unranked freshman no one ever heard of. Right. Didn't even have the job to the number one wrestler in the country. Took some lumps along the way. I for some reason, just, the run that he made at Big Tens, I just see that continuing. He's just gotten better and better. So I have him beating Ayala in the final to win at 125, but either one would surprise me. It would not surprise me at all to see Ayala win, but I have those two guys in the final, and I just think Davis finds a way, after what I saw in the Big Tens, to eke it out.
Makes sense that he's the favorite here. I really kind of a surprise, at least from a few months ago. I don't think anybody would have said Davis was going to be the number one seed at this weight class, but he is riding some serious momentum coming into this. Looked fantastic in the Big Tens. I think that's the safe pick here, Steve, for sure.
Yeah, and Cale Sanderson has that history with freshman wrestlers coming out of nowhere. He knows when to put them in the lineup, how to push them, when to push them, and so he has that history of guiding those freshmen to national championships. Yeah. So
let's get to 133 then. What are you thinking here?
So 133, again, that was a fun weight class at Big Tens. I really think it's kind of set up for, I hate always going chalk. It's always fun when you get a nice upset or whatever. Sure. Honestly, the two top wrestlers in this bracket to me, Dayton Fix, Oklahoma State. I mean, he's got the experience. I think this is like his 6th or 7th year wrestling. Yeah. He must have gotten an extra year, an Olympic year, or a COVID year or something. I think that dude is like, he's going to be 30 soon. And Crookham out of Lehigh, fantastic wrestler, just one of the, so I've got those two. One part of me, I'd like to see Fix finally see him get that national championship. He's been around, he's been a great wrestler at that weight for so long, but I have Crookham. I think he's just an amazing wrestler. I think he's on a tear. I think this is his year. This is his weight, and he's going to own it. And so I have Crookham out of Lehigh winning the national championship at 133.
Wow, and you're right about Fix. I mean, I would like to see him win it. He's just been around for so long. He's a great wrestler. But here you got two undefeateds coming in with the number 1 and the number 2. Fix is 17-0, and Crookham is 18-0. And I really like seeing two Lehigh kids here, the number 2 seeds at the low weights. That's fantastic. I love seeing Lehigh here in the nationals, and hopefully they do pretty well as a team.
I think they will. I think they have an outside. Lehigh, I think, has an outside shot of getting into maybe the top 3 of the overall team points, which would be awesome for that program. So if people are wondering what's the Penn State wrestler at this weight, what's he going to do? Nagao, he is the 10th seed. Yeah. He's had another up and down year. He was wrestling real good for a while. He had some major setbacks. I thought had a good Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
I believe he was in the 3rd place match and got a pin to get 3rd place there.
Okay.
So I don't see him challenging these two, but I do see him wrestling through and being an All-American, being in that 5th or 7th place match to place and become an All-American. Not outside the realm of possibility for him to fight through and get in the 3rd place match either. So
all right, I like it.
So that's 2 weight classes, 2 All-Americans for Penn State so far.
There you have it. So let's get to 141. We have the number 1 seed here is Mendez from Ohio State, correct?
Yes.
So what are you thinking here? You like him going through the whole way, or we have an upset brewing?
Yeah, so Mendez, he beat Bartlett in Big Ten finals. Really good young wrestler at Ohio State. Ohio State has a good young roster. They're not going to challenge this year for the team points, but I could see them in the future, the next few years, they're going to be the team that's going to challenge Penn State the most, I think, in the Big Ten the next couple of years. Like Mendez, good, solid young wrestler. I think he'll breeze through to the finals. Winning the Big Tens gave him that number 1 seed and really gave him a pretty easy bracket. Down in the bottom half, Bartlett's down there, the number 2 seed from Penn State, and you have Real Woods from Iowa. 2 fantastic wrestlers. I think Bartlett has been getting the best of Woods lately. So I have Bartlett winning that, and we'll see we'll see a rematch in the final. I really worry about Bartlett just having enough offense. He's a lot better at 141 than he was at 149. So fantastic wrestler. I'm not knocking him. He seems tentative to go on. He likes to throw those crazy wild jungle moves, counterattacks, and but he doesn't against a guy this quality, he just doesn't have the offense, doesn't have the shots. So unfortunately, I'm actually going to go here with Bartlett losing to Mendez. I mean, that's the chalk, that's the seed, because I just don't think he's going to have the offense. But wouldn't surprise me this match to go either way.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Mendez at the Big Tens. Just looked like the better wrestler overall. Doesn't mean Bartlett can't win it, but I think the safer pick there, without a doubt, is not just because he's the 1 seed, but from what you saw at the Big Tens, I agree with you. I think Mendez is the champ here. So.
Now, what I will say is, again, Cale Sanderson. Our Iowa fans hate him, but he has that history of. One of his wrestlers loses at Big Ten, and then he comes up with a strategy, a way. There was the years ago RBY coming against DeSantos, having that the missing arm behind his back to kind of defeat that strategy. So there's a chance maybe Cale's got something under his sleeves at 141, but Mendez is going to be tough.
Yeah, he's very good. So let's get to 149 then. The number 1 seed from Nebraska at 24-1. Love it.
Yeah.
What are you thinking here?
Love it. Great wrestler. I love him. Nebraska, great team this year. They really solid squad. It always hurts me to root for anyone else other than a Penn State wrestler.
Sure.
But love it. He's earned it this year. I see him breezing through this. Finding out the bottom half of the bracket, who knows? Parco is the 2nd seed. He could be there. There's a big matchup in the quarters, K-Sac versus Parco. There's a chance maybe, K-Sac could upset Parco and get into the final against Lovett. But I have Parco actually winning that and Lovett winning the championship at 149. And K-Sac wrestling through to third place, getting that winning third place match, which there's no shame in that whatsoever.
Right.
Great season for him. But to me, this is just Lovett's year, and I think he's going to get the championship.
And something you won't see much, of the top 4 seeds, only one Big Ten wrestler here, and it is Lovett. You've got wrestlers from outside of the Big Ten conference wrestling in the top 4 here. So a little bit wide open, something that you don't typically see. So let's get to 157. Well, we've got one of your PSU undefeated guys, a guy I love to watch wrestle. Just excitement. Levi Haynes. I think I know where you're going to go with this, Steve, but break it down.
Levi Haynes, absolute beast. I think he will breeze through this bracket. I didn't even really do. I mean, I looked at the bracket. Yeah. I looked at some other guys. There's nobody in this bracket that I see challenging him. Mm-hmm. We've been following Levi Haynes, I think, since he was a sophomore, wrestling at Biglerville here in Pennsylvania. And last year he was so much fun to watch. He lost, I think maybe was it to Keegan O'Toole, I think, in the final.
That sounds right. Yeah.
But O'Toole's up another weight class. So this year, I think 157 is his. I think he's going to breeze through and win this easily. Levi Haynes, the champion at 157.
I agree with you. Well, you just talked about Keegan O'Toole.
Yes.
Let's get the 165. He is the undefeated 1 seed here from Missouri. And then we have another undefeated as the 2 seed, Messenbrink, wrestling fantastic at 21-0. I'm anxious to hear what you think here at 165.
So this is a really interesting weight. Up in the top half of the bracket, you also have David Carr. I think he's the 4th or 5th seed.
At 4? Yep.
Yeah. He's a great wrestler, especially this time of year. I think that's going to be a challenge for Keegan O'Toole in the semis. I think that Keegan will probably beat him in the semis, but don't be surprised if Carr pulls off some magic. Down in the lower half of the bracket, I have Mitchell Messenbrink, the fantastic freshman from Penn State.
Yep.
I have him getting in the semis against Ramirez. Ramirez, really good wrestler. I think Mitchell Messenbrink, I think his motor, he just keeps on going. He was down, I think, 9-2 at Big Tens, and just came back, kept pushing it, and ended up winning. He didn't get a pin, but he was he was
the end of that match was impressive.
Very impressive, just beating the crap out of that guy. So I have Mitchell Messenbrink getting to the final against Keegan O'Toole or David Carr.
Okay.
I think that I'm going to go, and again, I know our Penn State viewers are going to be mad at me at this one, kind of like the Bo Bartlett thing. I think that's finally where Messenbrink's magic runs out, which nothing, no shame in it whatsoever. I see him getting to the final and losing to either O'Toole or Carr, but probably Keegan O'Toole. Just both of those guys, veterans, really good wrestlers in their own right. They've been through the wars. They've been through this. So I have Messenbrink getting the final, but losing to Keegan O'Toole.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, to get to the finals of the Nationals, can't sneeze at that at all. So let's get to 174. Number 1 seed here from Virginia Tech, Lewis, and then San Diego State University with a number 2 seed here. So what are you thinking here in 174?
And I'm not sure on number 2. I was trying to look him up. I'm not sure if that's San Diego State or South Dakota State.
South Dakota. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
So here's the thing. Mekhi Lewis, number 1 seed, absolute screw job by the NCAA. They put probably 4 or 5 of 4 out of the top 5 wrestlers in the top bracket with Mekhi Lewis. He's going to have, so obviously everybody knows Carter Starachi had to take the medical forfeit.
Right.
Hadn't lost a match in 90 matches or some crazy thing like that. Going for his 4th national championship, had to take the medical forfeit, didn't want to do it, was ready to wrestle. That was a Cale Sanderson decision, pulled him because he said there's no reason risking any kind of a re-injury at Big Tens. So he was ready to go. If he would have been able to wrestle, there's no doubt in my mind he would have won Big Tens and been the number 1 seed. And Mekhi Lewis would have been down in the bottom bracket as the 2 seed. So the committee here did no favors whatsoever for Mekhi Lewis. He's going to have to wrestle Starachi in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So just a crap job, screw job by the committee here, by the wrestling seed committee. I have Starachi winning that. I have Starachi going through and winning. I have him beating Mekhi Lewis in the quarters. I have him beating Shane Griffith in the semis.
Yeah.
Griffith also I really don't like how they seeded him as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was a medical forfeit. He probably would have been the 3 seed.
Yeah.
So we should have been seeing probably Mekhi Lewis against Griffith in the semis and Strachey up there by himself,
right.
if not for the medical forfeit. So really putting both of those guys on Mekhi Lewis's side of the bracket just did not serve him well. Strachey, C-Star, I think he is pissed off. He was pissed at Kale. Kale
Yes.
said he's pissed at me.
Yes.
He's pissed at everybody. He's pissed at the world, and he's going to take it out on this bracket. And unless something happens and he tweaks his knee again, I have him winning his 4th national championship.
Well, those were the 2 questions I had. Was he clearly the tweets immediately after, and of course there's emotions running very high at that point, and Kale owned it 100% as he should have. He handled it perfectly.
Yep.
But definitely not a happy camper there with Strachey. And do you have any update on health? I mean, are they feeling like he's pretty much good to get, not 100%, but as good as they can get him, or are you questioning at all his health?
Is he 100%? Probably not. If he tweaked his
Most of
knee,
these guys are probably not.
but
100%,
yes,
right?
Lewis isn't 100%.
Yes.
Lewis may actually be worse health than Strachey.
Okay.
So I think he's good enough to go through and win.
Okay.
Strachey said he's 100%. Well, that might just be him, talking smack about how big his balls are.
Right. Yeah.
He says he's 100%.
Okay.
But I have no doubts about his health being good enough to go through and win. Now, could he retweak? Because when he heard it was a weird situation. They're trying to get up off the mat towards the end. So could he re-injure it? Sure, of course. But I have no doubts or concerns about his health.
Okay, all right. Well, let's get to 184. Where are you thinking things are at here with this one?
Okay, so this is kind of a weird bracket this year. You had Aaron Brooks moving up. He used to be down in this weight.
Mm-hmm.
I really did a lot of research. I really like Isaiah Salazar out of Minnesota.
Okay.
I don't know a lot about, and I don't even know how to pronounce his last name.
Kekasian
out of, I think that's northern Iowa. He's got a great record this year.
Kekasian.
He's performed really good this year. So I just breaking down the bracket and looking at some of the records and who faced who. It looks like he should have a pretty clear, easy path to the final against Salazar from Minnesota. Again, really good wrestler. I watched him in Big Tens. He looks great. I'm going to go with that Big Ten wrestler. I'm going as a tiebreaker. I'm going with Salazar.
Okay.
He's been through the wars in the Big Ten, so I have him winning this bracket, winning the championship at 184. And if whoever's interested, the Penn State wrestling fans who are interested, Bernie Truax.
Yeah.
He is a 6th seed, I think. I have him winning the 5th place match.
Okay.
Getting to wrestling through to 5th place. He's had an up and down season. He was a former All-American, I think, at Cal Poly.
Okay.
I think it's top 8 or All-Americans. I see him being an All-American again this year, getting through to 5th. Would it surprise me if he got through to 3rd? No, but I think 5th is a good spot for him. Just kind of looking at some of the matchups. So I have Salazar winning at 184 and Bernie Truax getting 5th for Penn State.
All right. Well,
All-American.
Let's get to 197. Another wrestler I love to watch from Penn State, 17-0, Aaron Brooks. I think this is his tournament, but you're the wrestling guy here, Steve. What are you thinking?
I mean, there's no reason to think that Aaron Brooks won't win this. Yeah. Just a fantastic wrestler, is at the top of his game. There's a really interesting semifinal match. Beard, who used to be at Penn State and was the 197 guy there, he lost a couple years back and transferred to Lehigh. He's a real good wrestler. I think that'll be a fun, interesting semifinal. But I see Brooks getting through this and beating Hilday for North Carolina State. Another good wrestler, lots of experience. Watched him a lot. Coming out of North Carolina State. North Carolina State has a really good squad.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Yeah. They do, for sure.
If they wrestle through to their seeds, they would get 2nd place in points. I just see Aaron Brooks. I don't have any reason to think that he's going to lose. He is on a mission. He has faith in himself, his coaching, his team, and I think he's going to kind of end his career here with just another stamp in the book, another page in the journey, and move on with. I think he'll be a 4-time national champion.
Yes, I was just going to say that. I think he will be. Yeah.
He was one guy. He actually had the chance to be the only ever 5-time Big Ten champion, but he a couple years back he lost. He won the COVID year where they didn't have nationals.
Right.
But then he lost at Big Tens, I think, 2 years ago in kind of a strange match. But,
yes, I was going to say that was a weird match.
Anyways, I think he'll be a 4-time national champion.
Well, let's get to the heavyweight, the last class we had to talk about. Again, an undefeated wrestler from Penn State, Greg Kirkfleet. And we have a number 2 seed here that's also undefeated down at the bottom. So what are you thinking here? Again, another wrestler I really like to see. I've enjoyed watching him over the past few years, and the growth that this guy has had has been incredible. So what are you thinking, Steve?
Well, first of all, I'm glad Mason Paris has moved on.
Right.
That was like the one guy, like Kirk just couldn't seem to beat him.
Yeah.
He was great, so he's moved on to whatever he's doing now. Kirk Fleet, he's at the top of the wrestling world right now at the heavyweight, at the collegiate level. Just I think head and shoulders as far as just talent. Just a really, really good wrestler. He is a little bit on the smaller side for a heavyweight. So he has been in some matches with Paris before, and the guy from Iowa the last couple years, I forget his name, but he's been in matches before where he got in trouble when he was underneath in kind of a low-scoring match. But he's so athletic. He's just continuing to get bigger and bigger while not sacrificing any athleticism or speed whatsoever. So I have him getting through at least to the semis to face Schultz.
Okay.
Which Schultz was a number 1 seed a couple years ago. Schultz, I was trying to look into him. He only wrestled like 10 times this year.
Right.
So I'm guessing there was an injury or something. But, Schultz, big, strong, athletic guy as well. So I think that'll be fun in the semis. I think Kirk will get through him there. And then I'm really looking forward to the other semi could be really good. Hendrickson from Air Force.
Yeah.
Who had an awesome season last year and followed up with another great season this year. And the name, I think it's Bastida, I believe.
That's right.
Has been awesome. There was a lot of back and forth. Wrestling experts didn't know if Bastida or Kirk was going to end up with that number 1 seed this year. Could have went either way. I think there was some debate that maybe Bastida would get the number 1 seed because he had more matches than Kirk. But Kirk's got the number 1 seed. Either way, I think they're just set up for a clash there. I mean, there's a couple other good wrestlers that I think will make the semis, but those two are set up for a clash there. We'll see, but I got my money on Kirk this year. It just seems like his year. The dude is so athletic, just in total beast mode. So I have Kirk Fleet winning the heavyweight championship.
Well, anybody that watches us regularly knows that I'm a Mountain West fan.
Yes.
So I will absolutely be rooting for Hendrickson here in the Air Force, at least to make it to the final. I'd like to see him get in the final there. We'll see what happens, but you always got to root for somebody.
Yeah.
I trend Mountain West, so I'll be rooting for the Air Force wrestler here.
I'm really looking forward to, and we talk about this every year when we're talking about wrestling, the semifinal matches. Honestly, they're usually at least one of them is better than the final matches.
Yeah.
So I think if I remember correctly, the semifinals should be Friday night.
Correct. Yep. Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. They usually put them both on the 2 screens at once. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I want to We'll talk about the team race really quick.
I was going to ask you.
I see. I actually see Penn State getting first place. Okay, I think that's everybody just assumes that they're going to get first place. There's been some talk. Can they challenge the all-time points record that Iowa set years ago? I think wrestling is too deep nowadays. I think that'll be a tough, really tough to do. I see at minimum 8 All-Americans, but I think there's a path to 10 All-Americans.
Wow. For
Penn State, which would be amazing. There's been so many years where they didn't even get points out of 125, and they have a potential champion at 125 this year. So that's a huge game changer. So I see Penn State as the number 1 team, winning probably by like 50, 60 points, something crazy like that, but maybe not challenging the all-time points record. North Carolina State, Nebraska. I think that'll be a race for second. North Carolina State, with their seeding, they have a really good squad. If they can keep up the seeding, then they would get that second place. But for some, I just have this feeling Nebraska, the year that they've had, I think they're going to come on strong.
Okay.
Going through the Big Ten is a little harder than going through ACCs. Going through the ACC, so I see Nebraska getting that second spot, and then the battle for third being either North Carolina State or maybe Lehigh coming up and sneaking into there. We'll see. The big disappointment this year, unfortunately, is Iowa.
Yeah.
They've been disappointing. I kind of wonder, I've been kind of browsing the Iowa websites, and some of the fans are starting to get a little upset with the Brands brothers. So we'll see. I think at seeding right now, they're projected to finish 9th at Nationals, like a team that is used to expecting to compete for the national championship every year. So if they end up somewhere around their seedings 8th or 9th, or God forbid, falling out of the top 10, what's going to happen there? But I see Penn State as comfortably winning the overall team title.
All right, great. And I can tell you one thing I'm excited about. You sent me a text today. DC will be doing some of the now. I love that. Was it 2 years ago? He missed 2 years ago. Last year that he
had a UFC.
They had a UFC event, and I was glad to see him back. I just think he had so much color, is enjoyable to listen to. So I was excited to see he's going to be doing some of the announcing.
And Burroughs is back too. He was pretty good.
Yep.
But Cormier, oh my goodness, so awesome to have him. I'm so excited as well. He was fantastic. Really looking forward to that.
Well, Steve, I'm glad we got to do a wrestling episode. Finally, waited to the very end, but we got it out. Really anxious for the weekend. I know I am going to be taking off on Friday, at least part of a day, for wrestling and basketball. I'll be jumping back and forth between both. So, hey, if you guys like this, make sure you give us a thumbs up for this episode. If you like our content, we do everything Big Ten, Mountain West, and mostly football, but we like to delve into some other sports every once in a while, like we're doing here on this episode. But with that, hey, hope we see you again on the Big Mountain.